What if being sensitive was the answer to your overthinking? Because the other day I was at this person's house for this lunch networking event that they had, and it was this big, beautiful home. And it was right on the lake, real gorgeous. And I got to find out that the owner was doing pretty well off. They owned a farm, food company to go with it, and they were just having a good time, chilling, drinking. It appeared like everything was going well for them. But although they were so charismatic and like really funny, I could see this exhaustion in their eyes. And it wasn't until we got to meet each other and they found out what I do, which is, being a pattern breaking specialist, that they felt safe enough to open up to me, which is something I'm used to. It's always beautiful to see people open up when they feel safe. And he got to confess that he can't go a day without drinking because he can't turn his mind off. And it's so interesting because you look at the house, you look at the lake, and you would think once somebody would achieve this, that finally, like, they have the perfect environment to just sit back and enjoy life. And he's right there telling me that he can't do it. And I get it. I know what that feeling is like to wake up, your mind is racing about all the things that you don't want to deal with or you don't want to be happening, and you just can't stop it. It doesn't matter what you do. So it makes sense that that's his approach. As successful as he is, nobody taught him how to quiet his mind, how to get that feeling of relief other than drinking. And that's way more common than we think. At times we feel like we're the only ones that are going through this and nobody else is, and there's something wrong with us. But that's never the case. Nobody teaches us how to quiet our mind. And that's what this video is about. It's to get you to be able to quiet your mind, to get you to have a practice that you can do by the end of this video, and to help you understand what's been getting in the way of quieting your mind. So sit back and enjoy. What's up? What's up? Welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, I'm Mike. I'm a pattern breaking specialist, and I created this channel to help people reconnect with themselves. Now, this is a 5-part series. This is part 3. The first one was about getting you to feel your way out of overthinking rather than think about it. And the second part was to get you to balance it out, to change the momentum of the direction of your thought. So be sure to watch part 1 and part 2 because that'll make part 3, this video, way more powerful. It'll get you, the whole purpose of this series is to get you from being in your head, constantly thinking negative thoughts or anxious thoughts or just nonstop thinking in general, to, by part 5, really being able to enjoy silence. Because when we're overthinking, silence is so loud, it's deafening. So each video builds its momentum to get you to really create this sense of safety and peace and stillness within yourself, that your mind feels safe enough to relax. And this third part is all about sensitivity. Because when you deal with overthinking for so long, there's this dull pain that happens when we're constantly in our mind, because we're not meant to live from our mind. But at some point, we start to lose track as to what's thinking and what's real life. Because our minds have the ability to paint the picture of life, right? We can imagine how something can play out. We can imagine how somebody would react or what they would do. It didn't happen yet, but we can imagine it. And we can feel what we imagine. And that's where it starts to get tricky as to, are you imagining things or is it really happening? And it's hard to tell the difference. And the best way to tell the difference is to be very sensitive. But when you're overthinking for so long, that pain, you have to adapt to it somehow. If you don't know how to turn this off, then you just have to adapt to it, or else you're not going to be able to do anything. So the best way to adapt is to kind of build up your tolerance to the discomfort. So it's almost like, okay, like before for me would be waking up and thinking, oh my God, I'm stressed out again. What else is new? Let's just keep it pushing. Let me just get another cup of coffee. Let me just do whatever I need to do so I could just, you know, be left alone. And there's a numbness that comes to that adaptation. There's a numbness to that tolerance. And it gets you to pull through. It gets you to like push your way through the day and take care of the things that do need to be taken care of. There is a benefit to it, but it's not meant to be long term. And what happens is once we numb ourselves out to a certain level of pain, that means it has to get more intense for our bodies, our mind to let us know that we're still doing the same thing, that we're still lost in here. Now, sensitivity is something that, for me, I heard all the time being made fun of or not wanting to be. It's always like a joke of, oh, you're so sensitive. Don't be so sensitive. Why are you being so sensitive? It's all the things that, like, when you hear it in that way, nobody wants to be sensitive. And it's just changing the relationship to what you mean by being sensitive. So one way I like to flip it is thinking about a car. When you're driving the car, your car is so sensitive, it can tell you that the pressure, the tire pressure in your car is low while you're driving. And if you think about that, it's like, that's actually pretty impressive. That you can know your exact tire pressure if it's low while you're driving. And that's valuable information because before that, how else would you know if the air was low in your tire? You would have a flat. So now you're risking a potential accident, a blowout, because you don't have the information. Like before we had access to the technology of the car telling us that, there was the risk of a blowout. And being sensitive to that information, it's like, oh, my tire's flat. Great. Now I know what to do. When you see you're overthinking the same way, like the discomfort that comes from overthinking, the feeling of being anxious, the uncomfortable feeling of it, paying attention to the fact that you're feeling that, not to override it, not to ignore it, not to make it normal, seeing it as a light on your dashboard. Hey, the tire pressure's low. In acknowledging that, now that's the exact moment to do something. Because the second you see the tire pressure is low on your car, it's letting you know, hey, this needs to be taken care of, like pretty much now. Can you put it off? Yeah. But are you also risking something else, like something worse happening, like the blowout, like an accident? Yeah. So in allowing yourself to be sensitive to the feeling of discomfort and not trying to push past it, now the question comes as to, then what do I do about it? Because Mike, frankly, I've been dealing with this for a while. So yeah, I know it's uncomfortable. Yeah, I know that feeling, but I had no choice but to push through because it's either that or not live life or do anything. And I can't really do that. Valid, very valid. So there's a technique that I like to call softening. And a way to approach it is you just close your eyes and intentionally relax every muscle from head to toe. And just take deep breaths. And with every exhale, just soften your body as much as you can. And you want to think about it as you're doing it in waves. You're not trying to do it in one shot. The reason why you're doing this is you're giving your body and your mind the feeling of safety. Once the body feels safe, the mind no longer has to look for it. What's keeping us overthinking is the fact that we don't feel safe, there is constant tension in the body, and we're scanning for things that are causing us not to feel safe. The mind is trying to find the cause as to why we are bracing. Maybe it's the bills, maybe it's our partner, maybe it's the person at work, and it's trying to find those things to help us feel safe. But although it means well, it's just making us more tense. So then the mind panics more and starts to scan even more, and that's the overthinking. But if you give yourself the feeling of safety, just by taking a deep breath, as you exhale, you soften. Now, the mind is going to feel that sense of safety, and you're going to notice it's scanning less and less and less. And it's almost like you can feel yourself like doing this, like your guard is dropping down. And that's something you can provide yourself with every time you catch the feeling of stress or feeling anxious, feeling overwhelmed. It's taking that moment, kind of like we touched on in the part 1. It was the 3 to 5 deep breaths. Now it's, let me give myself a minute to relax. And the best thing is, the more you soften, the more soft you allow your body to be, you'll notice when you'll start to brace. Because if you're already bracing, it's hard to tell when you brace more. It's like, to tell that difference is really hard to do. That's when the pain is normalized. But if you're starting from relaxation, you can feel it start to build up from soft to tense and tense and tense. And it's like, oh, let me relax again. And that's what you're doing, is you're introducing your body to the fact that you're safe. That all the things the mind is thinking about and trying to fix and trying to solve, it's not happening in this immediate moment. It may be something you still have to take care of. That may be true. But it's not happening exactly right here, right now. You may have to figure out how to pay something off by the end of the week or by 2 weeks. Yes, that's true. But it's not happening in this exact second. And you are more able, more capable to find the solution to the thing that you need to figure out when you're calm and relaxed. Because the brain absorbs 20% of the oxygen we breathe. When we're so tense, that means a lot of the blood, a lot of the oxygen is going towards the muscles in our body. Fight or flight, right? Through that tension is being in that state of, I am not safe. Give yourself the feeling of safety. Your mind now starts to go from that tunnel vision to an expanded awareness. You're not trying to find ways to survive. So as you catch yourself doing this, and as you relax into the feeling of safety through softening, now you just want to make it a game. Because I like to gamify everything. When you put the pressure on yourself of, I need to do this and take care of this and stay on top of this, you're risking on, let's say you miss an hour and you don't soften. Then it's like, damn, I didn't do it. What does that do though? When you beat yourself up for not doing the thing or doing the practice, it's like, I'm doing it bad, I'm doing it wrong. Now it's, I don't want to do it, mainly because I don't want to feel the feeling of punishment after. We learn from the people around us that, we have to be disciplined. And to make sure that we follow through, it was like, do this or something bad will happen. It's always the form of punishment, but if you notice, that's not really effective. If anything, it gets us to want to avoid the feeling of punishment. So that's why it's hard to be disciplined with something. When you use positive reinforcement, not the words, the feeling. The positive reinforcement of, damn, it's been an hour, I didn't do it, and you feel yourself about to beat up on yourself, you just take a second to, I could do it right now. Cool, let's soften right now. And then you soften, and then you remember, oh, this feels good. This is why I want to do it. And now you're encouraging yourself to do the practice because it feels good to you, because this is something that you want to do, not because you should or you need to or you have to. No, it's because you want to. And once you remember why you want to do things, if you notice, you're easily disciplined in those things. Mainly because you don't have to force yourself to do it. You just remember why you want to do it. And that's the main thing, is to break out of overthinking, is to realize you just want to feel safe. And this feeling of softening is giving you the permission to feel safe right now. And you see it all builds up off of each other. Because in part 1, we talked about the breaths, right? The 5 breaths. And as you breathe deeply, now you're getting more oxygen into your body, more oxygen into your brain. Part 2 is to change the momentum of thought and to balance it out and normalize the feeling of feeling good. And as you start to do that and start to remind yourself that you're capable of doing the things that you want to do, the very things that you used to beat yourself up on for. Now, third part, let's relax into that truth. Let's relax into the reality that you are safe. Let's not just think about it conceptually. Let's not just understand it. Let's make it real by feeling it. That's what we've been looking for this whole time, is the feeling of it. And the quickest and best way is just giving yourself permission to let go. Let go of the bracing. And that's what the softening is. And as you start to normalize the feeling of softening, you'll start to notice that you're not going to be as exhausted as you used to be. Because it takes so much energy to be like this. Like if you were to imagine, holding a pen as tightly as you can throughout this entire episode, you would be so exhausted. And like your arm will start cramping, and then it'll start hurting. And because that pain hurts and you have to just keep focusing on the video and still holding on to the pen, you have to ignore that pain a bit and become numb to it. And like even now, I feel my arm about to cramp. And it's like you're giving yourself permission to just soften, let it go, and breathe into the fact that you don't have to hold on to the pen, that you're safe enough to be relaxed, that there's nothing to brace against in this moment. Now, all the energy that was spent doing this has to go towards somewhere else. Where would you like it to go? What would you like to do? And that's the beauty of not only softening, but this entire series is what is getting you to do, is to free up the energy that was trapped in this constant tension and direct it in what you would much rather be doing with your life in general. And it may start off with something small throughout the day. Right? Maybe I really would like to listen to music or go for a walk or draw or paint or dance or whatever your thing is. Now you have energy for it. Because when you're in constant tension and you're exhausted, it feels like you never have time because you're constantly battling in here. And this gives you the permission to just let go. So if you have any trouble letting go of any emotional pain, any stress, if you feel like the loop is still super intense and you can't break out of it, where you're so numb you don't know if you could continue on, like, another day. Like this helped, but there's still a lot more that you're navigating and you feel like you're doing it on your own. There's a booking link in the description for a one-to-one call with me. And we'll be able to dive deep to get to the root, to get to the core of what that pattern is and the best ways to, for me to help you moving forward. So if you feel that's something that you can use in this moment, remember that you don't have to deal with it by yourself. Now, I would love to hear, how did softening feel for you? As you gave yourself the permission to relax, put in the comments, what was that experience like for you? Because as you describe it in the comments, you're actually describing to yourself what safety feels like. And I love hearing different people's perspective and experience of safety. It's so cool, and like how some of them are similar, but they're different at the same time. It's so awesome. Now, with that being said, I'm wishing you an amazing day. If it's nighttime by you, I'm wishing you an amazing night. And, like, share, subscribe. And I will catch you later.